We're just under 2 weeks out from the release of Pitch Black, the latest Pokemon TCG set, both online and in stores, and I have been wholly obsessed with playing one particular archetype from the new set, and that is Hide and Sneak. And after playing about 200 to 300 games with the archetype in this short amount of time, this is the list that I've landed on. So there are a few different looks to the deck floating around out there. There's a lot of lists that focus on the Dhelmise, and other lists that look a little bit more like what I'm showing you here. I am very fond of the idea of playing around the entire Hide and Sneak package, so not just the Dhelmise, but also leaning into using the Sinistcha to spread damage and to finish the game out with Spiritomb for a big spiritual end attack. But before I get too far into it, I'm gonna rewind a little bit and talk about what is this archetype and how does it work. So it all revolves around two main aspects, okay? You've got this ability here, Hide and Sneak, and it's very strong defensively. Prevent all effects of your opponent's Pokemon's attacks and abilities done to this Pokemon. Damage is not an effect. So if you think of Phantom Dive damage counter placement, doesn't work. If you think of Monkey Dory damage counter movement, that doesn't work. Well, Monkey Dory can move the damage off, but the effect doesn't land on the Sinistcha, so they can move 30 damage from themselves, but it won't land on the Hide and Sneak ability Pokemon. If you think of Frostlass with its damage counter placement between turns, that doesn't work either. So there are a lot of interesting effects in format at the moment, which Hide and Sneak pretty effectively blocks. It doesn't block damage, and so you'll see later that the Shaymin is in the list to protect them, but the ability itself lays a very strong foundation for whatever it is that this deck is trying to achieve. And if you're either up to date on what this Pokemon archetype does, or if you've perhaps read the text already, you might have an inkling towards what this deck is about. So the other aspect to talk about with this deck is the fact that there are a number of attacks throughout the Pokemon that are in here that rely on a number of Hide and Sneak Pokemon to be in the discard pile. So it's very reminiscent of the way that the Lost Zone archetype worked a few rotations ago, where it had access to attacks whose effects are unlocked by way of having a certain number of cards in the Lost Zone. The way that this archetype works is it wants to see Pokemon with that Hide and Sneak ability in the discard pile in order for you to be able to start using those different attacks that it has access to. So we'll start with the Dhelmise. Dhelmise is a pretty strong cornerstone of the deck. 140 HP basic Pokemon, so very sturdy. And Vengeful Anchor can swing very big. 30 damage for 1 Psychic Energy, and if you have 4 or more Pokemon that have the Hide and Sneak ability in your discard pile, it does 140 more damage. 170 is a lot. You're one-shotting a Meowth, or anything that's weak to Psychic is taking 340 damage. I'm thinking of the likes of Mega Lucario, or certain Pokemon that can have the Psychic weakness applied to them by way of other effects, are also knocked out in one hit. For example, Dragapult EX. So if you have something like Lillie's Clefairy backing you up, it makes Dhelmise a very appealing attacker in virtually every matchup. So it's here as a 3-of, and we've got Night Stretchers and whatnot to support it as well. The second Pokemon with an attack whose effect is augmented by, or requires you to have Pokemon in the discard pile with the Hide and Sneak effect, is Sinistcha here. So Marcher Spin for 1 colorless energy. If you have 6 or more with Hide and Sneak in your discard pile, place 4 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. Fantastic! 40 damage across each. You do it every single turn if you want, once you get to 6 or more in the discard pile. And it only costs 1 energy, and it's on a single prize Pokemon. So there's good odds that you'll be able to do the damage spread multiple times if your opponent doesn't have some way of playing around it, right? So you get to very strongly pressure your opponent's board. You can set up for KOs to take with Dhelmise, and as you'll see soon, there's the Spiritomb that also takes advantage of the damage spread from Sinistcha. So very, very good. You can look for lateral plays, I like to call it, where you think about the board broadly instead of just thinking about single targets. And yeah, it gives you a very interesting dimension to the deck. And then finally, you've got the Spiritomb here, which is the last Pokemon in the list, which plays off the hide and sneak effect. Spiritual End says if you have 13 or more with hide and sneak in your discard pile, choose 2 of your opponent's Pokemon and quadruple the number of damage counters on them, which is a crazy amount of damage counters. Up until now, we've only had double. I'm not aware of any Pokemon that could triple the number of damage counters. Quadruple is quite a lot. So if you have an opponent's Pokemon with 8 damage counters on it, for example, Spiritual End can quadruple it to 320, which is a pretty good number to hit when upwards of 40 or more % of the metagame tends to be Dragapult. So Spiritomb, very, very appealing as a late game win condition. Not one that you see in every hide and sneak deck, but one that I'm choosing to try and build around and incorporate into the overall strategy of the deck. Now, I did skip over the other hide and sneak Pokemon. We're going to look at it now. Banette here with hide and sneak and the puppet pull attack. 1 psychic, 80 damage. You may search your deck for a card and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So very appealing in, early to mid game when you might need a little bit of time to set up, or maybe your opponent hits you with red card or unfair stamp. Having access to puppet pull is certainly not to be dismissed, and 80 damage is significant enough where if that damage sticks around till later in the game, on an EX for example, there's good odds that you'll be able to use that damage to take a multi-prize KO with Spiritomb. So, very good. Now, I should also mention that it is 4 Pokemon total in the deck with hide and sneak, so you can have up to 16 Pokemon in the discard pile with that ability, because both the Poltchageist and the Shuppet have access to that ability. Neither of them are super good attackers, but it is important to note that they have that ability, which helps protect them while they develop on the board, or maybe they're just left stray on the board because you had to open with them or whatever. So it's very nice that, again, effects like Phantom Dive or Adrenal Brain are not necessarily going to be able to knock out the Shuppet or the Poltchageist very easily. Something I will mention though, worth noting, Poltchageist has free retreat, so a very appealing Pokemon to just have sitting there as a one-of, perhaps protected by Shaymin if required, but is there to help you pivot between your Pokemon after KOs, which, being a single prize deck, is something that happens quite often. Now, to round things out, I mentioned briefly Lillie's Clefairy. Its inclusion here is very straightforward. The Fairy Zone ability allows you to apply Psychic Weakness to Dragon Pokemon, and given that Dragapult is so popular at the moment, a very essential include in your list. We've got a 1/1 Dudunsparce line, which is a little bit questionable. You might think, why not 2/2? Like, what happens if you prize a piece? Things like that. My thoughts on Dudunsparce is that it's fantastic to help you hedge against hand disruption, but I'm not necessarily relying on it throughout the entirety of the game to help me set up. I just need it to sit there as my mid to late game insurance against hand disruption if it happens. And to be honest, in its place, in the place of having 2/2 Dudunsparce, for example, the deck is chock-a-block of supporters and effects that allow me to draw cards, and if I have to be unfair stamped, if I have to be red carded, good odds that I'll draw into one of those cards because I have so many of them in the deck. And not to mention, if they're knocking out Dudunsparce to get rid of it, as well as playing unfair stamp on the same turn, then it means that they're not attacking my other Pokemon that have been prepped and ready to attack. So the hope is that I can play through the hand disruption, top deck, draw things, Prism Tower if I have to, and hopefully deck thin as well. The deck is chock-a-block of ways to remove cards from your hand and extract them from the deck, which I'll go over very soon. And so all of that is sort of why I'm not wholly reliant on the Dudunsparce. If you want to run 2/2, please by all means. Fantastic choice with the deck. It's just not what I'm choosing to do. We round out the deck with a couple of defensive Pokemon. We've got Shaymin here with Flower Curtain to protect our low HP bench sitters. The hide and sneak effect does not protect them from damage, so something like Wellspring Mask Ogerpon, which I see from time to time in decks like Excadrill, is something that you need to protect your Pokemon against. Also, Slowking, very important one for that matchup. And then finally, we've got Patrat here with Watchful Eye. Damage counters on each Pokemon can't be moved to other Pokemon. Now, you might be thinking, why would you need this effect when your hide and sneak Pokemon are protected from Adrena Brain anyway? Well, they're not the only Pokemon that you have in play, and sometimes you do need to protect the Dhelmise or what have you against Adrena Brain. But also, it's more about ensuring that the damage stays where you want it to be. So if the Patrat is able to prevent your opponent's Munkidori from using their effect for even just 2 turns in the game, that might be enough for you to be able to set up the big Spiritomb turn and go for the massive Spiritual End attack. That's it for the Pokemon. We'll move on to the supporters. Gwyn here is the new additional supporter that we got for this archetype and many others actually, but particularly for this archetype, Gwyn is very appealing. Discard up to 2 Pokemon that don't have a rule box from your hand, draw 3 cards for each card you discarded in this way. So, as you can imagine, a deck that wants to unlock effects by way of discarding Pokemon from their hand is very grateful for the existence of a supporter like Gwyn. It's a supporter that allows you to see more into the deck without shuffling or disrupting your hand in any particular way, other than the fact that you need to have those Pokemon available to be able to discard with Gwyn. So very synergistic with the strategy of the deck, very good at helping you both thin and see more cards. What's there not to like about this new supporter? Now I've got 4 Lily's Determination in here, and in my very early drafts of the deck, I didn't have Lillie at all. I was running cards like Naveen and Iris, and I was playing more counts of Explorer's Guidance. But the more I played, the more I sort of circled back to the fact that Lily's Determination is just too good. Being able to see 8 cards at the beginning of the game, 6 cards after you take your first prize, is still just too strong to want to ignore. And because we have cards like Prism Tower and Ultra Ball, it doesn't have to be the supporter that gets the discard, but we are thankful when it does. Our other draw supporter is kind of a loose term here, but we have this supporter, Explorer's Guidance, which might seem like a bit of an oddball choice when you could pick other cards like Naveen and Iris and maybe even Morty or other cards that are able to discard from the hand and draw cards. But the good thing about Explorer's Guidance is that the discard is not a bad thing necessarily. Being able to look at the top 6, so seeing 6 cards in, being able to then discard a number of those cards, for example, discarding hide and sneak Pokemon, discarding cards that maybe you want to thin out as you get to the mid to late game from the deck, and then being able to choose 2 of them and put them straight to hand, makes Guidance a pretty good fit for the deck in my opinion. Now, you could swap it out for something like Naveen, something like Iris. That's totally up to you. I think Guidance is good, and I think that other hide and sneak players out there are actually looking to up the number of Guidance in here in lieu of cards like Gwyn, for example. So, very, very interesting card. Our other supporter in the deck is, of course, Boss's Orders, to be able to target down Pokemon for knockouts and do all the good stuff that Boss's Orders lets us do. As far as the trainers go, you've got a pretty short list of those in this deck. 4 Ultra Ball, of course, being able to get any Pokemon and discard cards from your hand, very useful in this deck that wants to discard cards from hand. We've got 4 Poké Pad, of course, a deck that is mostly comprised of non-rule box Pokemon, really wants to use Poké Pad in order to set up, search out, maybe you want to get Pokemon to be able to discard them, maybe you need to get that Dudunsparce and put it into play. Do as you like with this card, it's fantastic. 3 Night Stretcher are here because, of course, a deck being a single prize deck means that you're going to need a lot of Pokemon, and you're going to need them over the course of several turns as you play out your game. And in a deck that's also geared towards discarding, Night Stretcher can be very useful. Get that energy back. Get back that Dhelmise in certain matchups. Get back that Lillie's Clefairy if you need it. And so the last item in the list is Special Red Card, which of course is here to disrupt our opponent's hand. And given the length of the game being played out or committed to when you play a single prize deck, it can be a very useful card to have access to. As far as stadiums go, you've got 4 Prism Tower. So I like having 4 Prism Tower for a couple of reasons. One is it makes your turn 2 just that bit more consistent, where you're trying to attack with Dhelmise. So it's another out to an effect that allows you to discard the Pokemon that you need to be able to start attacking with Dhelmise ASAP. Also, it's a consistency card, both by allowing you to thin cards from your hand so that you don't redraw those after a hand shuffle effect, and also it lets you see an extra card from the deck. It draws 1, so that can't be a terrible effect to have access to. The last thing I'll say about Prism Tower is it's here to counter other stadiums such as Watchtower and Battle Cage and other stadiums that you might not want to see in play. So very, very good. I'm choosing to include it as a 4 of. Cut it if you like. If you feel like you need the extra Dudunsparce line, maybe you cut a Prism Tower. And then on the energy side of things, you can see them down there. You've got 3 basic psychic, 4 telepathic energy, which of course lets you search your deck for 2 basic psychic Pokemon and put them onto your bench once you attach it to a psychic Pokemon. So allows you to search out your Dhelmise, allows you to search out your Lillie's Clefairy in the mid game. Very, very good energy for this deck. And then lastly, the 8th energy is this Legacy energy here, which is also our A spec. So given that it's a single prize deck and wants to set up for these grand late game positions where you're going for the spiritual end win, being able to buy a turn with Legacy energy is very good. Now, is this list the be all and end all? No, absolutely not. There are a lot of different ways that you can play this deck. This is the way that I'm choosing to play. It's gotten me to over 1600 rating on the ranked ladder. I think it's pretty good. But there is, of course, just a multitude of ways to play it. It's really anyone's game to practice and test and tweak and decide what works for them. This is where I've landed for now. And look, I'm going to cut to some gameplay. But before I cut to any gameplay, I'm just going to very quickly give you a tournament report. So I played in an online streamer tournament called the Streamer Showdown. It was a collection of 22 live streamers, and we got together and played a double elimination bracket in the pitch black format. So that was a lot of fun. I got to play against a bunch of people that I don't normally get to interact with and compete for some prizing, and I finished in top 8, which was awesome. But what wasn't awesome was the list that I decided to play, and I'm going to show you. It doesn't look that different to what I just detailed in my deck profile, but you'll notice the glaring omission is there is no Lillie's Clefairy, and that really came back to bite me. Here are my matchups. In round 1, I played against Slowking. I had the Shaymin. I was able to win 2-1. The game that I lost, I believe my Shaymin was prized. In round 2, I played the mirror match against Trash Pulls. Very similar-ish list. They didn't go the full line of Banette, but because of slight differences in our approach, for example, Trash Pulls was playing the Lillie's Clefairy, I was able to come out on top. My list was just slightly more consistent in the mirror match setting, and I think that helped me take the win in round 2. In round 3, I lost to Frodo HTX. They were on Dragapult Dusknoir. I didn't have the Lillie's Clefairy, so I lost. In round 4, I played against Shinasti with Crustle, and I almost lost that, which kind of surprised me at first, but she had a pretty solid strategy into what I was doing. She stacked the Kangaskhan, had the fan on it, and had all the ice creams, and I was losing prizes far quicker than I was able to take down the Kangaskhan. By the time I was attacking the Crustle had spiky energy and a full allotment of energies that it needed, and because of the HP of Dhelmise, it could respond to me attacking it with an attack of its own and knock it out because of the way the math worked. But I was able to bring it back in the second 2 games of the set by just doing Dhelmise things and overrunning the deck faster than it could set up. And then in my 5th round, I played against Josh Bennett, who was on just straight Dragapult with hammers, and again, because I didn't have the Lillie's Clefairy, it was very hard to overcome. Just both the Dragapult games, they hit you with the Itchy Pollen setup over a couple of turns, unfair stamp you, and then just go to town after, rendering you pretty helpless. So that was a very quick rundown of my tournament run. I'm going to show you some gameplay with this list. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile, and I'll see you again next time in a video, or maybe when I'm live on Twitch, where I'm live multiple nights a week. So it'd be great to see you there. Anyhow, take care and enjoy. Thanks. Yeah, the turn that I like didn't attack means that like I delay my Spiritomb turn by a turn. Like the whole game is delayed by a turn, so I just lose. So yeah. No need to think too deeply about it. It's just I straight up just evolved my active Pokemon I had to pass. Oops. Whoops. Was I not playing to my outs? Was I not? I talked about what I was trying to do there. Yeah, you're right. I could have knocked out Reshiram and Darmanitan. I didn't really think about it. I was playing to the outs that I was aware of. Okay, well, pretty obvious thing here would be to do this. One of each of those prized. So there's a Dhelmise prized. Two Gwynn prized? Two Night Stretcher prized? And an Ultra Ball prized. Yes, you're all correct. I should just play more perfect. I should just know the exact correct move to make at all times, every single turn. Are you kidding me? I literally counted all 6 cards. I literally counted all 6 prizes there. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yes, Sundor, you are right. Yes, Seabaker, you are right. How many energy? There are no energy prize because I accounted for all 6. Shut up. Alright, Gwynn? I think I wanted to Dunsparce first. To get a hand that looks a little bit like this. So that I can Gwynn these cards away. Never punished, but it was a misplay not to Telepathic Energy first, I would say. I don't know if I need Shuppet down. Not really. I really don't. I don't need Shuppet down. What we can go for here is Dunsparce. Shuppet can be fine in any matchup. It can be fine in any matchup. I don't think I need to Ultra Ball for, like, Poltchageist or anything. Not just yet. We can just look for it naturally. We keep the Ultra Ball so we can get the Dunsparce down. I say you can put down Shuppet in any matchup because no particular game of Pokemon cards is necessarily elegant. Like, sometimes you just have to stumble your way forward, even if that means attacking with Banette sometimes. We did not see the Ace spec this game. It's more just like, like, bricking sucks. So, that's why sometimes I'll just leave a stray Shuppet on the bench. Imagine? Yeah, imagine it's unfair stamp. We get an Excadrill player that decides to break from the mold and not just play Trolley. Trolley is truly one of the cards of all time that is able to enable a deck like this, where so much of the deck has to be energy for Metal Maker to work. It's funny. Ooh, swing and a miss? That's a shame. They're playing the Vital? Oh, snap. Dang. Imagine? That'd be pretty good, huh? You just play Cape, though, really? We're going Gwynn strats here. We discard a couple of supporters. Don't need Shaymin in this matchup. Although, I should be discarding Hide and Sneak. Yeah, it's interesting, Baker. Don't know. They've got no way to disrupt us here, so I think I'm chilling. I would really like to find a Poltchageist soon, but we don't need it yet. Hey, Pig Sheffer, 6'7". My dashboard does says 67 viewers. Was. How are you? Oh, Genesect eating some ice cream. Evolution Series Episode 5. We're opening more packs. Alright, let's go Dhelmise. Shut up, Baker. It's only one prize they've taken so far. What can I discard here to make... Oh, I guess I can just do Dunsparce. Try and draw some cards. And then we'll go Gwyn. Continue to get these Pokemon into the discard pile so I can matcha spin. Okay. We'll do this. And we'll do this. I don't want to give them anything else to work with. Again, not taking prizes, so disruption sans something like Judge is off the table. But we do have to prepare for the special red card turn if we do get a knockout on the Genesect. It would be very good if we could transition into Marcher Spin. Like 3 turns, maybe. That should be enough. They've used up 2 Ice Cream, so like they're not healing very much, if at all, at this point. Sheffer, do you do like Azul's just like different deck videos too? Because he's got like all the uploads of like, you know, deck profiles and like Pokemon TCG Live sort of segments. I wouldn't make it very easy for any editor to get anything out of me because like for a week straight, 2 weeks straight now, all I've done is play like the one deck. Do I ever just boss? Last turn? You mean like, so like swing into Excadrill? Maybe. I'm sort of like down for this not to be in the active because if I want to start attacking with Sinistcha, they can start using Undermine, which is a little bit scary. Well, this is going to threaten their whole board here. You're going to have to do something about these Beldum. Towards the end of yesterday, I decided to do like a live deck profile at the end of stream. But when I was editing last night, I decided like, man, this video didn't turn out very well. I'm just going to re-record it. So before I went live tonight, I recorded like 30 minutes of talking at camera. And I think that's going to be the deck profile for this deck. I think it's going to turn out much better. This might be the YouTube game. It's a good one because I'm rotating through all the attackers here. Like Spiritomb will definitely be involved in the end game if I manage to win with it. We got to think about how many of these are in the discard pile now. So we're at 9. This is going to be 11. So we should be okay. They're having a big ol' think about it. What does this stadium do? They get to heal 10 damage from each of their Pokemon if they played a supporter. Which, funnily enough, doesn't save the Beldum, but... Also, I wasn't really seriously trying to play around Judge, but there you go. There you go. Let's hope that they don't undermine. They probably will. If they attack with Genesect here, that's perfect. They must have prized like 2 of them a Tang. They must have. And this Legacy Energy is going to stop them from getting them too. So we take 4 prizes next turn. That's cool. Do I? No, I don't want to pop that. Because we can just do this. This. I'm going to keep that Poltchageist in the deck. I could play around it. Three, 6, 10. This is 11, 12. I can probably stand to put it down, and then we'll do this. Yeah, removing the stadium's right to do there. Okay. What I was doing there is I was going to grab Spiritomb out of the deck and put it into hand to make it so they couldn't undermine. It's too bad they didn't want to play it out. But look, there you go. If this ends up being on YouTube, then I hope you enjoyed. This is a little bit sus. We'll see. Slowpoke. We got 3 Dhelmise. Are we missing 1 Poltchageist? 1 Banette. Shaymin's there, which is good. 2 Lillie prized. 1 Night Stretcher. Kind of feel like I need to put this down. Because next turn is looking pretty sus. I haven't got that much to work with. Just a bit of a worry, but we will see. Odds are they're going to want to attack with Smoochum. Or not. Maybe they don't. Who knows? Who knows? I guess the answer is no. Fair enough. Do we set anything up? Nah. Nah, you wouldn't want to here anyway. That's good, because if nothing else, I can Poké Pad for Banette here. In fact, I wonder if I even use the Dudunsparce. Like, I could do this for Banette. Swing on the Kangaskhan. Grab ourselves a Lillie's Determination, and then play it out. No. I need, Dude, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna lose to Kyurem. Frustrating. Well, it's like... it's either that or I just pass turn. Like, I go for Shaymin, then draw... and then, like, pass. How annoying. It's okay. They get to take 2 prizes, but... then we just get our Shaymin and then we should be chill. Actually, I should have only put one Dhelmise down. Well... no, it shouldn't matter. Yeah, probably Dudunsparce before Pad. I guess, like, part of my logic was Pad first. Maybe I draw a supporter. It's alright. We'll just try our best. At the very least, our Dhelmise will be active. And we just play it out from there. And then whichever of these Dhelmise gets hit with the Trifrost damage, I'll put the Legacy Energy on it. And then hopefully we can stabilize a bit. Now, we're not Night Stretching for anything here. It's just Lillie. Okay, we can go Poké Pad for the Shaymin. Before I do anything else, we'll double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now it's just Dunsparce. Counter the stadium. And we'll hold the cards that we've got because it might be like Ultra Ball, this, and whatever I draw. To then Gwynn 2 cards. This is 3 prizes with Spiritomb if it gets to that point. Got a long way to go though. Got 4 out of 13 cards. Okay. So a bit of a fumble early, whiffing the Shaymin in like the order that I wanted to find it in. It was like on a turn where I had to decide whether I wanted to definitely attack with Banette or... But yeah, I definitely could have used a Dunsparce before Poké Pad. It's a really good point. Anyway, despite that, we're in okay shape. They're probably... Are they attacking with Metagross here? They looked for Metagross and not Annihilate. It might mean that they've got Annihilate in hand, but we'll see. Okay, even though we're behind on prizes, the 80 damage on the Kangaskhan means a lot. So, do not despair. And they don't take a prize this turn, so we'll be able to catch up. See what it is. Night Stretcher. So I'm gonna discard these two. Let's grab the Dunsparce. I'll go to Dunsparce here. Oh wait, I messed up. That wasn't supposed to be the Dunsparce at all. Must be getting late. I'm making mistakes left and right. Alright, well, commit to our sins. Let's run away draw. Gwyn. Discard these. Okay, very good. I don't think that I want a Night Stretcher for anything in particular. Just hang on to it. Am I worried at all? Because if they play red card, next turn is pretty sketch. But it's like, what do I do about it, right? I made the mistake that I did by searching for the Dudunsparce when I meant to search for a hide-and-sneak Pokemon. Oh, wait, we're at 4 cards. Sorry. For some reason, I thought it was at 4. I guess I was looking at their prize count and thinking that was mine. Okay, so we're safe from red card. Don't worry about it. We just chill. I must be getting tired. Lillie is sending away like a really big hand of cards. See if they got something playable to work with here. Their stadium stayed intact. We're down to just 1 Prism Tower left, so we're probably not going to be able to deny the Academy at night for the rest of this game. Promoting the Latias, that looks a lot like they're going to pass. That's not good. So let's just discard some hide-and-sneak Pokemon. Keep putting them in the discard pile for later. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did I just Ultra Ball 2 Sinistcha? Probably. It's worth it to grab the Dunsparce back. Plenty of good stuff left in the deck. Boss's Orders, Energy. Attach the Energy. Tomb's in the discard pile at the moment. We just swing. Didn't take a KO, so we're, you know, again, safe from red card for the minute. And then hopefully by the end of next turn, we've got Dudunsparce in play. Have a think about how many more Pokemon we need in the discard pile for Tomb. And then think about whether we can keep Poltchageist handy as well. 3, 6, 8, 10. It'd be ideal to discard it. We're at 10. 3, 6, 4. So I need to find that 13th hide-and-sneak Pokemon. We're getting close. There's definitely a tower left in deck, I'm pretty sure. Not 100% on Ultra Ball. So I'll promote to Dunsparce, Dunsparce, because at worst I can just attach and retreat to attack with Dhelmise. But we can play towards trying to win on this turn. Okay, Gwyn. There's no other opportunity to thin, so we'll just Gwyn. So we find. That looks pretty good to me. Ultra Ball. These two should be at 13. Dudunsparce. Do this. Night Stretcher. Hopefully they let me tomb. Let me get the tomb for the YouTube video, please! Please! Huge. Okie dokie. A few good games tonight for the YouTube. We'll pick a selection, one or two maybe, and we'll throw them online.